There were once 25 tin soldiers, all brothers, for they had all been made from the same old tin spoon. Each man shouldered his musket, held himself upright, and wore a splendid red and blue uniform. The very first words they heard in this world, when the lid of their box was lifted, were spoken by a little boy who clapped his hands with delight and cried, "Tin soldiers!" They were his birthday gift, and he set them out one by one upon the table. Each soldier was exactly like the next, save for one who had been made last of all when the tin ran short. He stood on but a single leg, yet he held himself just as straight and just as proud as his brothers. And it is this soldier, this steadfast, one-legged fellow, whose story is worth the telling. The table on which the soldier stood was crowded with many other playthings, and the most charming of all was a pretty paper castle. Through its tiny windows one could see straight into the rooms within. Before the castle door stood several little trees arranged about a looking-glass meant to represent a still lake. Wax swans swam upon its surface and gazed at their own reflections. The whole scene was delightful, but the most delightful of all was a little maiden standing at the open door of the castle. She too was cut from paper. She wore a dress of the lightest gauze, and a narrow blue ribbon crossed her shoulder like a scarf, fastened with a glittering spangle as large as her face. This little maiden stretched both her arms wide and raised one leg so high that the tin soldier could not find it, and supposed she, like himself, had but one leg. He thought her the most beautiful creature in the world. That evening the other tin soldiers were put away in their box, and the people of the house went to bed. Now the toys began to have their own games, visiting, fighting battles, and giving balls. The tin soldier remained still upon his ledge, watching the little dancer. She never lowered her leg, and he never took his eyes from her. The clock struck 12, and snap! The lid flew off a little black box, and out jumped a goblin. "Tin soldier," said the goblin, "keep your eyes to yourself." The tin soldier pretended not to hear. "Very well," said the goblin. "Wait until tomorrow." When morning came and the children were up, the tin soldier was placed upon the window ledge. Whether it was the goblin's doing or a sudden gust of wind, no one could say, but out of the window he tumbled, head over heels, down 3 stories to the street below, his single leg pointing straight up, his bayonet stuck between the cobblestones. The little boy came down to look for him, but though he nearly stepped upon him, he did not see him. By and by it began to rain, and the drops fell fast and thick. When the shower was over, 2 street boys came along. "Look," said one, "there's a tin soldier. He shall go for a voyage." They folded a piece of newspaper into a little boat, placed the tin soldier in the middle of it, and set it sailing in the gutter. Away it went, both boys running alongside, clapping their hands. The water rushed and foamed in the gutter, for the rain had been heavy. The paper boat rocked and spun, and the current bore it along with great speed. The tin soldier trembled a little and felt rather uneasy, but he showed nothing. He looked straight ahead and held his musket firmly and kept himself stiff and straight, as a soldier must, come what may. The boat was swept into a long, dark tunnel beneath the pavement. It was very black and very frightening, but the tin soldier held firm. A great water rat that lived beneath the tunnel rushed out and called after him. "Have you a passport? Show your passport." The tin soldier said nothing and only gripped his musket the tighter. The current pressed on, and the rat came splashing behind. How the water roared and foamed! The boat spun about and at last shot out into the open daylight, into a broad canal. Before the soldier could gather himself, the current drew the paper boat under, and it sank. The tin soldier went down, down, and was swallowed whole by a great fish. Oh, how dark it was inside! It was even narrower than the tunnel. But the tin soldier lay quite still and held his musket straight. After a time the fish twisted and thrashed violently, then lay quiet. The fish was caught, carried to market, and sold. It was taken up to the very kitchen of the house where the tin soldier had once lived, for fortune moves in strange ways. The cook took up her great knife and split the fish open, and there lay the tin soldier. She carried him at once into the sitting room, where everyone wished to see the remarkable traveler who had journeyed inside a fish. But the tin soldier was not proud. They set him upon the table, and he looked about, and there, before him, stood the little paper dancer, still poised upon one leg with her arms stretched wide. She had waited, as he had waited. He felt something stir within his tin breast that was not unlike what men call love. He looked at her, and she seemed to look at him, but neither spoke a word. He was too steadfast to show what he felt, and she too still, as paper people must always be. Presently, one of the boys snatched up the tin soldier and threw him into the stove without the least reason in the world. It must have been the goblin in the black box who was at the bottom of it. The tin soldier stood in the bright blaze and felt a terrible heat, but whether it came from the flames or from his love, he could not tell. The colors had gone from his uniform. He looked at the little dancer, and she looked at him. He felt himself melting away, yet still he stood upright. Still he held his musket upon his shoulder. Then a door opened, and the draft caught the little dancer, and she flew from the table, straight as an arrow, into the stove beside the tin soldier, flared up, and was gone. The flames consumed them both together. When the maid cleared out the ashes the next morning, she found in the place of the soldier a little tin heart, and beside it lay the dancer's spangle, burnt as black as a coal.